saw that thing in the drive down and see the new Air Force One.
Yeah.
Wasn't that great?
My brother believes
I got a little kick out of
My
that.
brother's so smart. He sent me this, he's a retired military in Virginia, and he sent me this text. What are they doing with that plane in London? You should read the whole article.
That's awesome.
It was great.
I couldn't believe
really
it.
got a chuckle out of
That's
it.
Eric Johnson.
Oh, I
Was there?
figured.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah, I
probably,
figured.
yeah.
He couldn't wait to do it. He's been thinking about it for a couple months. And
It had its
It was
footprint.
really good.
Yeah. Fingerprint, or
Yeah.
whatever.
It was,
That was great. Including the photoshopping in, you
Yeah.
know, like just getting it up in the pond like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is great.
yeah.
All right, so I took the summary, the short-term rental stuff that we had, gave you one already. So this is very similar to what I sent out, to the question that Steve raised last time, you know, what is our aim here, what are we trying to accomplish? So, it's a working paper, as I call it, and then the number one is those who think there shouldn't be any law, and I just try to summarize that. I added your comment, Bill, at the end. Those who oppose these types of laws argue that enforcement is going to be near impossible. That was one of the emails that you had sent me.
Yeah.
So just, you know, one-liners, mostly this stuff. And then I got 2 is those who think there should be a law, 3 is what I think, and 4 is Susan's summary. It's really up to us how we go about this from here. Again, I would prefer to wait until Harold's going to be available to make sure we all get a chance to weigh in. So in that sense, I'm not in a hurry, but on the other hand, I thought it would be fruitful to discuss it a little further. I think it's a good question. Anytime we do a local law change or a new local law, we should ask what we're trying to accomplish. So I appreciate that question. I don't know if, Steve, you've had any more time to think about it. Bill sent me a couple of short emails, and
Yeah.
you know, I tried to
Well,
incorporate them.
what I said last time was I just think that whatever, if something really needs to go down on paper, then I guess you just follow the Airbnb and the VRBO rules already. Like, they're already there. So why not just match up with them so that we can say, hey, our stuff aligns with what you already have to do, and here it is. And if you have an issue, by the way, it's real easy to complain right here. You know, and then just kind of let because the enforcement of it's already, like I said, kind of there. I just don't think people understand. The people that really want a law, right, are the ones, and not everybody, I guess, but the ones that are complaining the most have issues because they don't know how to complain. And obviously, there's a lack of communication between the 2 parties. Serious. I mean, let's face it, people are just being childish at this point. It sounds like so. But if they knew how to handle the complaint, and if they were using, if the neighbor went on Airbnb site and complained, the person that's renting out has to prove that they're not in violation of all those things
Right. Well,
before they can rent again.
I can try to do that between now and Thursday. I can try to pull up the basic Airbnb. If you've got something,
I do. I use it. So
right? If you got something that summarizes those rules, we can double check it against what we have in the local law draft.
So there's a lot of traditional rentals that they don't advertise word of mouth. So
that's why I'm saying if you just line it up though with what Airbnb
Absolutely.
Listen, it's tighter than anything I've seen.
absolutely, I think
Yeah, I
it's
don't think
tighter
it's
than what
gonna-
we
okay.
that I would put.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying then the ones that are not advertised, as far as policing, the ones that are not advertised, we would say then once it's brought to our attention, then they're required to, we would hold them accountable. So even though they're not advertising on, and we wouldn't be able to know, but this is our, County Yates, if you are renting, this is what the expectation is. So if we're not aware of you, but it's brought to our attention, then clearly you failed to call law enforcement, you failed to be a good neighbor by trying to address it one-on-one. Now it's been brought to our attention, now here's the guidelines that you're gonna be held to.
Right. Including if
Story.
you're doing it without a permit, then
Right.
that's a violation.
Right.
Right.
What do you think?
I mean, that's, I like that idea. I agree with that. Follow the Airbnb rules. But the thing that would bother me is, you know, you can't put a daytime limit on how many people are at the short-term rental. Because if somebody's renting a cottage for a week and the kid's got a birthday party, you know, they're gonna wanna invite their friends down, you know what I'm saying?
Yep, so Airbnb addresses that. So I can tell you that, with my Airbnb, I've had multiple weddings in my backyard, multiple. And it's never been a problem. But they have to say that that's what's happening, and then the hours that it'll happen, so that, there's no confusion. And as long as you're not in violation of like making way too much noise, right?
Yeah.
And generally people are, and by the way, I have neighbors on both sides of me. And so far, no crazy problems with that. I have had problems to where I have had to send influence of certain things,
Yeah.
but you're always gonna get somebody that's.
Yeah, you might have a naysayer, but I think,
Yeah.
I think
We're going-
by saying, by saying that, we are comparable to Airbnb, so anyone that's already abiding by, which is the majority of these, are abiding by those rules, they're not gonna be impacted except for paying $100 fee for a permit, whatever we
Right.
decide.
So
That's
50 people can show up to my backyard, right? I mean, I have 4 restrooms in the house, but that's still not okay. You can't have 50 people in the house.
Right.
That's just against the rules.
Right.
But you can be in the backyard for a wedding and then leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because there's per person limit on most any structure. Like this room is allowed to hold.
Max
what-
capacity,
max
occupancy,
capacity.
whatever, yeah.
So, well, that's.
Okay.
I just see it, like I said, it's just a way that the town of Yates is, if all else fails, it gives us a bit of leverage to say, it can't continue, and there is a consequence,
Right.
and you will be held accountable. I don't wanna be policing, I don't wanna be out driving around policing it, looking for trouble, whatever, but encourage people to go one-on-one first. If that doesn't work, call the police. And then we have this ability eventually to say, okay, your permit's pulled because you didn't follow these rules, and the Airbnb is a great guideline. Whether they're part of it or they're not, it gives us some leverage to hold people accountable that clearly are way, way outside. You gave them enough rope, they hung themselves, done. Now you can't do it anymore for a year or
You
whatever.
just have to make sure that, because listen, people are going to make accusations,
Mm-hmm,
right? And we gotta have, if we're to pull permit, there has to be legitimate proof.
right.
Like pictures, evidence, witnesses, statements, all those things, of course. It's just to be very clear that you're not gonna get your permit revoked, just on hearsay.
But the whole goal is that most people that are doing this just wanna be able to make a little money, but allow other people to have a good time in the summer and enjoy
Listen,
the lakefront,
Yeah, tax.
Yeah, because that's the other thing, you don't want to deter somebody
Right,
that might wanna buy an old house, fix it up and turn it into an Airbnb out away from the lake.
right.
So, I mean, and the nice thing about the Airbnb rules, it would apply for the whole town the same.
Right.
You
The
know,
consistency is important.
Yeah, nobody's gonna get
And
that.
your point, it's also in the comments, it's one of the comments that was captured, is that Airbnb owners in particular tend to improve the property.
Yes,
By making it legitimately meeting all the regulations of Airbnb, it's most definitely gonna be an improvement. Not just cosmetic either. So there's a investment in the town and all that. So those are, strong arguments. I think we're trying to take the minimalist approach, but I like the idea. If you'll send me some, we may not get to this by Thursday. I think I'd rather set up a spreadsheet based on what you sent me and what I've got in the draft law, because it might require us to tweak draft law a little bit based on
Yeah.
that, and then say, okay, here's what it looks like as a comparison for next month, and then it'll be back. Okay, good, thank you for that. Budget, just got you may not have gotten a chance to look at it again, it came out about 45 minutes ago from Joanne. And it's looking good, the trends for actual revenues and expenses to date. No surprises, in A, we don't get the mortgage tax yet, we don't get the state revenue sharing. We just got the sales tax, actually, that check was $29,000, I wanted to see if it goes in the DB, if that's what we were expecting.
I don't think I got the attachment.
I did.
Did you?
Yeah, it was there.
Yeah, it was the one from,
504?
I responded to it.
did you, I didn't see your comment yet. Any questions? or
Yeah,
comments?
why did we spend
Okay.
so much more in insurance so far this year than last year?
Which insurance? Town?
Yeah.
I
Significantly
see
more
your
than
response.
2025, like significant.
That's not right.
It's, wait,
Well, yeah, let me look at the line number, I haven't looked at that yet.
We paid the regular premium for the
do we pay
the big
more
one.
sooner? I'm just saying comparatively
Oh.
to when it went out last year.
That could possibly be correct.
Yeah.
At the end of the year.
I like to compare numbers, and we've spent a lot more money in 2026 so far than we did in 2025.
And it's in the insurance line?
It's
is
all,
the
it's
only-
almost, we're performing better, except for there.
Yeah, and it can be that that's the way, the new insurance company wants, the broker wants it to be paid. Still looking for
We
it.
paid both, so we paid the computer policy and the regular big policy. Last year we were
Sorry.
really behind, remember, because we were getting an extra quote and it pushed everything back?
Yes.
We paid that
That may
late.
just be as simple as that.
Normally we pay it early, so that was an odd year
That was,
last
I
year.
mean, other than that, we were, like, everything looked great, but comparatively.
Yeah,
But the insurance was what made me like, what? Why are we so
well,
far?
overall,
overspent
as you know, overall, we're gonna spend $1,400 less on
Right.
insurance.
That's-
But the timing of it, I can double check.
That's
That
why
may
it
be
just
a
didn't make
difference.
sense to me.
Okay. Yeah, but that's the way to look at it, I like that, I'm thinking, that's what I did with the last line in a hospital medical insurance, we're expecting to get some savings there, but, you know, only so much has been paid so far, so I talked to Joanna, and she said, well, it'll still be less than the overall that we budgeted, but, yeah, we won't have final numbers for a little while. And again, like, another revenue for the mortgage tax, we estimated 45,000 last year, and we got 61,000, so that helped A a lot. So this year, same thing, we budgeted 44, I didn't want to budget 61, because we don't know what we're gonna get.
Why would the admin cost be higher on the town, or on the highway department so far versus last year? Like, that was kind of significant too.
Admin, do you remember which line?
Highway?
TA or DB?
It would be A, I think, isn't it?
DA?
A, because it would be for Roger. Could it be the insurance?
Oh, maybe it was.
$49.
Yeah, that's it,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. Good question, yeah. By the way, we never got charged for legal expenses last year. And so we programmed another 5,000 for it this year. We will operate the same way. Same with contingency. The contingency account has 5,000 allotted for it, and we didn't spend it last year, and so that helped the A fund, and the same thing this year. So far, we haven't spent anything, and not gonna, we won't have to. So, yeah, that's excellent, and Bill, when you catch up, shoot me a question or shoot it straight to Joanna, but I want us all to kind of like know throughout the year how we're doing, rather than everybody looking at it in September and October.
Yeah, I was in the phone at 4:45, so.
Yeah,
I didn't get the attachment for some reason, so
okay,
I'll look on my computer at home.
and then if you got the email but not the attachment, then let,
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Joanna. We had a meeting with Roger, Joanna and myself about DA and DB, so I'm just calling it the DA-DB discussion. And Roger's got some concerns, and rightly so. You know, he has done a good job, as I've indicated when we talked about how he earmarked chips to buy the last snowplow, for example. He is gonna make a case, probably by next month, working with Joanna for a new pickup truck, and whether we buy his arguments or not, that'll be something we'll look at. But he is concerned that, you know, we want to do this maximum amount of the chips and the snow and ice towards the things that they're, you know, earmarked for, and chips in particular. And he is concerned that in particular with DB, he wants to be able to spend everything that's programmed in DB, but if he were to do so, it would tap out all the other funds and also chip away significantly at the DB reserve, which is still pretty healthy. I think it's about 135,000. So anyways, we had a great discussion. I said, Raj, you need to get all this together, work with Joanna, make sure your numbers are tight, because the board needs to hear this. And maybe the next meeting, you and I, Sue, will sit down as deputy, just so we ask any more questions we need to ask before he comes to a workshop, we actually go through all this together. So that's coming, and I think the timing is good. So before we get to the September discussions about budget, he'll have gone through all of his with the bookkeeper, with us, and we'll all know what we're looking at and what proposals make sense and can be afforded and which ones can't. Ideally, it's not just a pickup truck this year, it's, if we agree, it's also the next snowplow, which won't be long. And you gotta order them almost 2 years ahead of time. And we don't wanna get into this whole, last minute, we're running out of snowplows because they had some issues this year with the older ones, and they were down to 2 at one point. So, anyways, it was a good conversation, and we've specifically set up another meeting before we get to our May board meeting, and hopefully we'll have his proposals. And just by the way, I mean, Cal's retirement, and so that saved us about a month and a half in last year's budget, and it saved us all the way up until now. Now, obviously, they're close to a hire, I think. I didn't get the final word. The highway guys interviewed 3 people, 3 finalists last week, so we should be hearing soon from Roger what his recommendation is. But in the meantime, Roger's been driving and doing all the things that Cal would have done, so he's saving tens of thousands of dollars, really, over the last few months. And he's gonna make that part of his argument, which he should. He's doing that on purpose. He says, I wanna hire the right person, so that's taken a while. In the meantime, we're covering down on everything we're supposed to do, and that's the savings to the town, so.
We could do like they used to do to me. Take a guy away from me, we get the work done anyway, and I never get the other guy back.
Well, he certainly wouldn't like that argument.
No, but but that's what they,
Yeah,
literally.
Well, that's part
How
of the
many times
problem,
that me?
I understand that.
because they've made it this far, like, you know what I mean, so,
But he'll tell you there was a lot of extra effort on the superintendent's part that isn't typically, it's not required.
right,
The superintendent doesn't have to do
Right.
any of that work, but the town, obviously, the board authorizes budgets. And so, yes, as you look at it, once he makes his proposal, he's gonna actually get the numbers of dollars saved by delaying the hire. And, the last time this was done, Justin was hired, and he did the same thing. He saved probably, I think it was about 2 months' worth of payroll and benefits by waiting to hire Justin. And then he only started them out part-time, not for long, but I think it was part-time for a little bit. Wasn't it? I can't remember. I think it was. Might have been, I was thinking of Dave last time before.
No, Justin was, I know he got an early promotion.
Right, but I think it was Dave Connor,
Yeah.
Dan O'Connor, that was, where there was a delay and it was part-time initially, and that was some savings. So he uses that technique to save the town some money.
And it depends who he hires too, what skills they have,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, he definitely, by getting a lot of resumes, I don't know what the total was, 12?
We had 20, yeah, well, we gave out 20 applications, and I think we had roughly 12.
12
Yeah.
applicants, and then, the top 3, they're all qualified. That's the nice thing, is by having those extra people apply, they're gonna check all the initial boxes. Now it's a question of fit or whatever.
Yeah, they come with CDL and
Oh, they'll have that.
instead of being.
But, and we're gonna, we've dictated the amount that they're gonna be paid, so it's not like they can offer someone, because they have more experience, offer someone more. It's gonna
I
be what
just-
it is.
just for what it's worth, I didn't like the way that was rolled out at all, and I think in the future, if we're gonna hire somebody, then we decide when we're gonna hire the person, and then there's some guidelines for somebody, because applications were accepted 3-4 months ago, and nothing was done, and I don't think that's a good way to do business. I think it's people need jobs, they put in for a job, and then there's no deadlines or anything, and I think that in the future, we should say, are you ready to hire, or are you not? Are you ready to hire? We'll be collecting applications for 2 weeks, the interviews will be the 3rd week, and we'll make a decision the 4th week. I just don't think that it was done in a very professional way as far as people that were interested in the job. They've moved on, and I don't think that that's a good way to treat people. And I don't think it was done intentionally. I just think that we need to tighten that up a little.
I actually agree. Every experience I've had is when a job gets posted it has a limit to when you can apply. And then there's an expectation that there's 2 to 3 weeks process to go through interviews, and that's that. But as you know, I'll say it here, we can chew on this, it's just the way it is. He doesn't have to do any of that. He can just have hired somebody, and then we can choose whether we're gonna pay him or not. We only have control over paying someone in the budget. We don't have control over the process he uses, the deadlines he uses. Now, I'm saying, I agree with you, because I think for the good of the town, this took too long, and as, people were left wondering months ago when they had already submitted their application. So that I agree with, and we should have that conversation with Roger. But I don't think we can set any limits to the timeline. I think all we can do is recommend it. I agree, though, it took too long, and it's still going. So, any thoughts on that?
Man, Cal left what?
November.
Yeah.
Well, then you start to wonder, how many people do we really need to work?
For sure.
And that sends a bad message if we really need this guy, or person, woman, whatever it is. How badly do we need him if we can get along this far without him? So, I'm starting to wonder, maybe we can keep saving money by not, but, I don't know. I don't do Roger's job, but.
I can tell you that's part of what we talked about at the meeting the other day, and he's aware that that's an argument that's against him. It's an argument for him in the sense that he did something that the superintendent doesn't have to do, which is he was driving the snow plows and doing the work. So his counter argument is, I did that to save the town money, and yet, he needs that position filled because typically the superintendent isn't out driving the snow plows. And he also, it was a very busy winter, so he was busy doing that and not doing, reviewing resumes. That's his other point. But I think it's a professional way to go about it, just as you described, because that's what you see, I'm sure, with state position that you're in, that when there's an opening, it gets posted, it has deadlines, and you operate that way. So I agree with that.
And even though he's quote unquote got full control of the highway department, it should be more or less a town-wide policy on how applications and stuff are handed out. I mean, even though he is separate kind of from us, but he should still be under the same regulations or rules for hiring.
It's just that we can't dictate those. We can recommend them, but we can't dictate them.
Yeah.
It's not like a normal
It could open you up for liability as well. Someone applies of a certain religion or race or whatever, and we just keep dragging it out till we get, do you see what I'm saying? There's some issues there. Just some thoughts for future.
Good discussion. All right. I will speak to him about it, especially since we're kind of waiting now for the final decision. The cemetery committee was going to meet, Steve is on that, and Shelley made a good recommendation the other day. She's going to work with that template that we got, right? And then work with Roger to really narrow down before we start listing all these bullets that we're going to add and the rules that we're going to add. Use that template, and a lot of that template won't apply. So she's going to go through that and set up a draft, and then we'll meet again, however long, couple, 3 weeks.
Just what I thought to throw out there on that. I think we should leave the, whatever the money is for this season's mowing in the A fund.
Yeah.
But to take the rest and put it in the other fund to spark it. So there's some money in there, so it starts making some money.
Well, what's interesting is that the
cemetery fund.
the cemetery funds are still separately earmarked.
It's already in 9
Yeah,
Is
it's
that what you
already-
mean?
No. I mean in the fund, in the cemetery's own fund, that will make money way faster
Just
than
start building it up.
Okay.
Right, okay, so
This
that
is- sorry,
separation
yeah,
can
separate.
still occur if we choose to do it other than my class. And it does sound like, based on this thing I sent you, the link to New York State, that permanent maintenance fund, and it can be called other things, but that particular one for cemeteries requires a board to be created and all these other things, so it's no easy
I know, but
thing.
if you look at the upside of it,
Oh,
it'll make the town spend way less money in the future.
yeah, it'll start to catch up with the expense side, which would be great.
If we had $80,000 in there, or $90,000 in there 10 years ago, we'd be sitting here laughing about it and not even worrying about it.
We'd be close to, you know, it would take about 10 years to get to where you match expenses. And we still have, the reason why it's not a tomorrow or day after thing is increasing the fees, as you've recommended, is also a very serious conversation that all the board has to have. And, you know, you say, okay, we're gonna increase 10%, and then that 10% increase is all going toward the
Correct.
fund. I get that, and we can make that case, but we need to look at those numbers.
Yeah, and I think if we give that jump start using, obviously take out whatever we need for this year's mowing, leave that out, why would we take it out? But I'm just saying, get that to spark that fund, just so it's starting to do something for us.
Right. Okay, well, it's just getting the 9 class, which is pretty good.
Yeah,
So
but that's, the
this
other
is-
one's really better.
Yeah, definitely. And also, we still need to get a split between the mowing contract for the cemetery versus the park, and get that number separated out so we know exactly how much is going towards the cemetery.
Which
So
is
more to
probably
follow.
gonna raise it.
I'm sorry?
If you cut it apart from the other ones.
It's already budgeted, he's got,
Well, I understand.
It's all one
But-
budget.
But next year it'll be put out the bid
Should be
cemetery,
separately, yeah.
right, and it'll probably raise the cost.
It would probably raise the cost?
Yeah.
Well, we
Because
tend to go up
they're-
anyways.
They're bidding on two separate entities.
At least we got our bid before the gas prices went
Oh, Lord.
Good point.
I'm just worried about mowing my own lawn.
Get some goats, might be cheaper.
Okay.
Oh, sheep.
Hopefully,
We're thinking
hopefully a
about
couple
it.
more
I got a
weeks,
couple.
couple more weeks, hopefully.
Yeah.
Let's make a note about the splitting between cemetery and park. All right. I just got this, you might have given it to me a day or two ago, I just didn't get over here to look. This is the photos, regulations, examples of camper and campground information that our code enforcement officer provided. And really, he's made the point, this is not something that he's primed to change in any specific direction. He just thinks the board needs to know, first of all, what we currently have on the books, and second of all, what's out there, and then third of all, provide guidance so that he can do his job. He's not saying it needs to be more strict or even less strict. He's just kind of saying, here's the snapshot. And I didn't get a chance to look too closely at it. What I'll try to do is maybe take a couple of these and make some copies and put them in your, or scan them and put them in, probably scan them, put them in your emails. I'm gonna do all of it, but like I said, he's got a lot of examples in here and recommendations or things that we could use to change the law. And I think, again, this, back to this question you asked, what are we trying to accomplish? I think there's quite a bit of unsafe conditions out there that we need to address. And that's part of his job. We just had that come up on Murdoch with the lady that had the.
And is the camper still mobile?
Chihuahuas.
And is the camper still mobile?
Right, that's one of the questions. Some of these are quite fixed looking, and then do they have approved septic or anything like that? So, I'll take a look at that. I'll try to scan some stuff in the next few days and send it out so we can talk about it next time, and Dave can come in and answer questions, but he's trying to remain neutral. He's not trying to say we should go one direction or another, but he definitely has a lot to say and a lot of homework that he's done, which is good. That won't be an easy one. That's gonna take some time. You know, on the one hand.
How many does he add in there?
Pardon?
How many?
How many total campers? I
20?
don't know yet, yeah, I don't know, I know he's taking pictures of a bunch of them,
Can you put it on the phone?
on the summary.
Yeah.
I don't see any
32
maps
campers
open.
on private property on the waterfront. But again, that's just the waterfront. That's just waterfront. All right. Ambulance contract, so, we just got the FOIL information, I'm gonna go over that, and then we have a meeting scheduled for Wednesday with the new mayor and the other towns, Shelby and Ridgeway supervisors. And I didn't didn't have a chance to look at it in much detail yet, but I do have a summary of the percentages. There's a lot of budget information that I may or may not be able to decipher, but I'm gonna try to do so before I get to the Wednesday meeting. But if you look at this sheet, the top cover sheet, 23 to 24, based on their fiscal year 24 to 25, and the total number of calls, I summarized at the bottom, and then to the right of each of the towns, the 3 towns, I put the percentage of calls that are devoted to us. So as you can see, among the 3 towns, we're the lowest. And this past year, we're way lower.
Yeah, that's, actually,
You went to that meeting, I mean,
I mean,
the fire chief was there, and
Yeah.
I think it's the same stuff you went over with us
Yeah.
at the previous meeting.
Yeah.
A lot of statewide information and concerns.
and really, the costs are astronomical and going up.
Right.
You know, I was amazed when they said, if they make a call down here and they don't transport a patient, they don't get paid.
Unless they provide medical care. They could come and provide medical care, then there is a charge. But if they come and then it's waived off, they,
Yeah,
but that's probably the reality for any ambulance
yeah,
service.
I mean, and he came right out and said it, you know, it's just not here, I mean, they, you know, it's just having the ambulances and the EMTs up there, and it's just the general cost of it, you know, and they transport, they go as far as Corning.
Well, I did put that in the second, in the back page, and the 2 years' worth of where they take the patients, and yeah.
You know, Wyoming.
Last year, they took someone to Wyoming County Community Hospital, 2 to Roswell, et cetera, so.
And it costs just to have the equipment and the person on there, there's gotta be something in the state that should be helping, especially small rural communities like us with ambulance care. I mean, we're gonna be priced right out of the market. They're gonna come again at us with another hit.
Oh, yeah, they're gonna increase it.
And it's probably gonna be close to double.
Well, what I'm gonna argue, just so you know, I mean, we're gonna get all the information on Wednesday where they're coming from. Most likely, let's say they double.
Right.
So, okay, double us, that means that Ridgeway, based on last year's numbers, will be triple, right? And they're gonna say, oh, no, we're just gonna give you all the same argument. That's the problem I have.
Right.
If they say, you know, Yates is gonna pick up 5%, and Ridgeway's gonna pick up 11%, and Shelby 10% of the total budget that costs for ambulance service that's not being reimbursed by Medicare and all the other insurances. If that's the 5%, fine, and I see that Ridgeway's paying their percentage, great. We may still double, but at least we'll be paying our fair share. If we double and that's all that happens to them is they get the same amount, that's criminal.
And I agree
I'm
100%.
almost mind to take a lawsuit to them. I don't know if you can do a suit for that, but I feel like I want
I
to.
agree 100% with you. I mean, we should be paying our fair share, but our fair share.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And
But the
it's gonna
problem
go up,
is-
I know it's gonna go up, but give me the percentage.
Yeah.
And that you've increased us versus the percentage you've increased Ridgeway and Shelby. And Ridgeway and Shelby, you go into these meetings and they don't say a word about that. They are very interested in us being the same as them,
absolutely.
because they're, right, which I might do the same way if I was in that meeting.
We're subsidizing them for sure.
I was actually amazed that there weren't that many people there asking a question.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, I came out and asked the chief, I said, well, what are you making here? And he said, you know, he hemmed and hawed a little bit, and then he looked over at the mayor, because she was there,
the new mayor or the old mayor?
the new mayor.
Oh,
And he said, go ahead, tell him. And he said he makes $77,000 a year, and he's the chief,
yeah.
you know? And there's other places you probably could go and make more money, and not be the chief.
Right, yeah, overtime and other things that
Yeah.
they get compensation for.
It's not a good situation for us to be in. There's gotta be something that, we should be able to do with the state to help us,
It would be nice.
I mean, we're not gonna be able to keep, we're gonna get shoved out.
Yeah, well, the concern would be is if Medina fails.
Yeah.
If they can't sustain somehow, they can't sustain on the backs of Yates.
Yeah, no,
But if they don't get their act together, like the whole thing with the ladder truck and all that, you worry about that. You want them to be able to stay afloat and provide the service, and then we're gonna just have to haggle over how much we're paying towards it.
like you and me talk, who wants to be the one to say, oh, okay, we can't afford an ambulance service for Lyndonville? Yeah. I don't think there's anybody.
Right. No, one way or the other, you know this, I'm gonna end up being approved by y'all to sign a contract, because there's no other option. Mercy Flight, the nearest they're gonna be is what they have, the two places in Orleans County, and then Terry's Corners in Niagara County. Those are the closest that Mercy Flight will go. They don't have the numbers up here in Barker and Lyndonville to justify an ambulance up in this area.
Well,
So
maybe
they're gonna be them.
But what if we were to pay, if we could have, I do think we should find out what it would cost for them to have somebody closer, what the cost would be. Even if it costs, let's say, a little more, just so we're not handcuffed to one place.
Well, I already asked them, their operations officer in Batavia for Mercy Flight said it'd be hundreds of thousands of dollars just for your town. He said at least $200,000. He said because you have not just the ambulance, which would have to be forward located, but then a crew 24/7. So you're rotating people, you gotta put that cost against it, and then you look at the number of calls, and it's not justified for them to do it without charging us hundreds of thousands. So right now we're paying $35,000. The problem is too, and this is where I do sympathize with the village, is the reimbursement rates. It's always been a problem, and he had that one slide that I saw that it's like Medicare and Medicaid, and then the reimbursement rate's like 40%. Well, it's a broken system from the get-go. If you can't get to what you're charging the people for, because it's not a free service, and it should be a kind of pass-through. Okay, this is how much it costs per call, and all that's gonna pay for our expenses, and therefore we're not gonna charge the towns separately anything.
And the county does what?
Nothing. They have a line in their budget that helps us with the emergency management office. That's it. It's
Right.
not, they have no ambulance service out of the county. It's provided by Mercy Flight for the 7 towns and Medina Village Fire Department for us on the west end.
Or if they would take a deal where we kept our rate the same and just paid $100 per call.
Interesting.
We'll pay like a, you know what I mean? Like as we use it, we'll keep our rate the same, but we'll pay additional $100 for every call that comes out of Lyndonville, instead of trapping ourselves into this same nonsense.
Yeah.
Maybe get ahead of it and probably offer out.
It'd be nice if we could talk them into that, but I just don't see it. I think they've done this for 10 years now. This will be the 11th year that I've been doing this. And every 2 years now or so, this contract comes up and they just broad brush it. And ironically, when I started, there was a zero charge. When Andy was the mayor, there was no charge, remember? I don't know how we got away with that. But I know, because I don't think they were getting full reimbursements back then either. They're probably having the same problem. And the hole was getting deeper and deeper, yeah. But I can throw that out to maybe.
Let me do a little research on this and come up with something else.
Yeah, if you come up with another way of doing it, throw me something by Wednesday so I can forestall the inevitable, which is the increases that I expect them to announce. And I'm gonna work, hopefully in the next day or two, to compile these numbers. Last time, just so you know, when we got the same thing, we got 2 years' worth of information on the number of calls. And they said that the portion that's not reimbursed, in other words, the amount of expense that they have that exceeds the revenue, was about $500,000, a little less than that. So they took that $500,000, and they took these numbers of calls for the previous 2 years, and they said, okay, the village has the bulk of the calls, so they pay this much of that, and that's how they came up with that number. And so this is the thing. now that they've sent the budget for the last 2 years, everybody's got increased budgets, but it can't be something where it's double the cost. It can't.
Well, they should do this, if you could talk to them about this, they think about it this way. No matter what, we know everybody's costs are gonna go up,
Yeah.
right? But,
That's what I mean.
so let's just say, all right, we all agreed to these rates last year. This is what the rates were last year.
Yeah.
We understand we were paying the same as Ridgeway and, Shelby last year. But the increase, let's make it a per call increase. So for every call, each town's gonna pay, whether it's $100, whatever that needs to be to get us to that point, so that everybody's whole, but at least everybody's paying their fair share that way.
Right,
To a
so,
point.
so your baseline
So
stays the same.
baseline stays the same, and then beyond that, to get to the, they know they're gonna get, the number of calls are gonna increase. We see that trend,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So, put the dollar amount on 2,000 calls, and go run with it that way. I mean, I don't know why they would argue with that. In Ridgeway and Shelby they should jump at that because they're still in great shape.
So you've got.
We're still taking the short end of the
Yeah.
stick in a sense, but at least moving forward, we're in trouble.
It's more fair.
It would be after the fact, so that's interesting, if they would agree, they would have to have in the contract that at the end of that fiscal year, so we sign this contract, but then the clock starts, right? And after that, or quarterly, they say, oh, you had 20 calls this quarter, so here's your bill for that, so there would be after the fact, right?
Yeah.
But nonetheless, they could, that puts the fairness factor back in.
100%.
That's how many calls we had, that's how many we'll pay the extra fee for. And whether that's $100 or whatever,
Or we can.
even if it's $100, if it's 100 calls, $100, that's what, 10,000 more dollars?
And I would just say this too, our rate probably should be a little higher than Shelby and Medina, because we're a little further away. So maybe
Well-
we pay 150 versus they're paying 100 per call more. Because
Well,
we got our-
that came up in the past, and the numbers are really minimal, but we did say, we figured out $2,500 in a year is the added expense on an extra set, we said, an extra set of tires, an extra oil change, but we're not the reason that those ambulances were out, it's the runs to the other hospitals.
Wyoming
For
and.
sure.
It's multiple runs to Rochester and Buffalo, that's what, they're not getting anything different there, they're trying to charge for
That's still
mileage.
more and tear
In
and
billing, they
yeah.
charge for mileage, but that's where the cost is, but yeah, I did throw that in last time in the argument. The letter that I sent them,
I think
fell on flat.
that's gotta be the proactive conversation to have before they start
I like
making
it.
decisions. Maybe just flip that and whatever thread there is out there, rolling on this, get that in there, get that proposal out there.
Is it a 2-year contract or a 3-year contract?
Well, we went with 2 years, it's varied, to be honest, I think maybe we've had now 4 years, except, and then a 2-year, maybe more. And so they went with 2 years last time because they had a new collection system, new company they were paying for to do the collection. And they said that will increase the amount that they get back. They're paying the company to do the collection, but they'll get more back in the collections and it will offset it. And then we'll have a fresh set of numbers. And let's look at all this again in 2 years, so.
Because this year's gonna be tough because, like you brought up before, the gas.
Yeah.
And now you're paying $1.25 more a gallon for gas. And if they figure the contracts on this year's, I mean,
We're gonna post.
and we all know when
We're
something
You're gonna
goes,
get, you're gonna
it
get.
doesn't come back down.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's, man, it'd be really hard to argue against it for anybody.
Oh, except that they'd rather just double it. Like,
Oh, for sure.
like Bill said, they'd rather make it.
But,
And,
It's 70 grand.
And I don't wanna bring it up. They still got a fire truck to pay for it.
It's all fire.
I mean, I'm sorry, it's, you
And I
can't tell
know-
me that's not gonna factor into this.
I don't know how well I'll be able to do it. I don't know if you saw the attachments yet. You could probably figure it out. Maybe Steve, if you get time. The way they sent me the money spreadsheets, it's gonna be hard to pull out just the ambulance. And I get it,
Yeah.
so like if an EMT, here's the thing, if an EMT happens to be the guy that goes on the fire truck that day to a fire response and doesn't do anything to do with the EMT, you're still paying that guy because of his or her, for his qualifications. So is that ledgered against the fire department or ambulance service?
Yeah.
And I've asked them, I said, in the FOIL, what is it for the ambulance service only? And I doubt what they've provided is gonna help us discern that.
That's fair.
I doubt it. It'll be fun to try, but I like your idea. Let me chew on it, and then any ideas we have between now and Wednesday's meeting, let's float them out there. Okay, so summer youth.
That is moving along as we are just waiting for the final budget from Carly, which should be arriving tomorrow. I'm working with Shelley to get the packet together for the foundation with the letter. And we'll get that to them before the meeting, which is sometime around the 20th of this month. It's basically been handed over to the school, to Alyssa, and to Carly to work with the two pastors who are willing to really try. The pastor and then Ann Heidman handles a lot of the Methodist stuff, so they're both willing to help. And there may be some additional expenses because of that, but there's also some uncertainty as to exactly how much there would be. So I asked her to err on the side of caution and make sure that we have enough and not to make keep everybody safe and sound. And the other thing I have to do is that April, that thing is due the end of April for the county to ask for additional employees. I keep forgetting to do that. So if you think of it,
Do you remember when the foundation meeting is? Is it 21st?
I think it's gonna be either Monday or Wednesday, because Tuesday is not a good day for school board members.
So the week of April 20th, which gives us 2 weeks from today. So if, I know that initial attachments, I couldn't open them.
I couldn't either. So she wasn't there today, so she's gonna send them again tomorrow.
All right.
But the school is, it will be, they needed a place for summer school as well, so they're taking on a heavy burden of organizing it all, and so if we can just get the funding.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Maybe what we should do is, by the end of the week, we should try to get the request to the foundation, and then we could just, suggestion,
Yeah,
make it the same as last year, note the difference in the location, but then if we have to dip into the reserve that's in the youth account, we can, just to get through this year. But I don't think the foundation will bat an eye if we don't show an increase. I don't know for
I
sure.
don't think
but
so.
I would think there was.
Last year I had no trouble with,
Right, but we got through that threshold. So if we
Right.
say we need that same amount,
right,
but you have to get it, if you wait till next week, if we wait till next week, then they can balk and say they didn't get it in on time. Because they actually have a rule, I think it's supposed to be at least a week prior to the meeting. Might even be 2. So, ideally, take last year's letter.
okay. I'll
Hopefully we
just
get
say-
the budget, just,
It's gonna be pretty close to that anyway, so
Yeah.
I can send it to you tomorrow. And then we can get the additional packet and scan it.
yeah,
over
if it's in this week, hopefully sooner rather than later, then we'll at least get that amount.
It's just,
you know.
it's a regular thing every year. I wish we could get a break on the actual, they know it's
They
coming.
require the
It
same
used to be
submissions,
just a letter,
yeah.
it was,
Mhm.
it's just, in my humble opinion, it's kind of a cumbersome act for something that they know is coming every year, and it's very minimal compared to some of the stuff they
I
waste
know.
their money on,
I
but,
know.
okay, yep, we'll take care of it.
Okay.
So it's in the works, and it's kind of I'm trying to get the budget, and it's just been a bit of a struggle, so,
Right.
but that, we have a place for it to be, so we are having it, which we didn't have
That's
a while
the
ago,
good news, and,
and how it works out is gonna be in the hands of someone else, so.
right, which is that's good
Yeah.
too, yeah, thank you. Street dance, anything new on that, or?
Eric Johnson is really picking up the torch, and he's trying to get some money for some fireworks, and I believe Lions Club will do they are planning on doing a chicken barbecue,
Right.
and then we will have the band from last year, so
Perfect.
we're
Thank
pretty
you.
much, no bounce house this year, I can't, it's just a pain.
No, and I remember the insurance guy, when we were getting the new insurance company, he said, oh, do you guys do bounce houses? I said, well, yeah.
I think we just set up trampolines in the middle and wherever. Yeah, so I think that, I think we're pretty well set with it. It'll
Thank you.
pull it together in the end, but
Yeah, definitely.
trying to keep it really simple, it's kind of a pain, but I've been asked by a lot of people about it starting to
They
kind
want
of
to
pick up
do it.
momentum.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, depending on the size, I don't know if I brought it up before, if we could stick the vendors that were out here last year, and there weren't that, what, 4 or 5 of them? And throw them on the sidewalk on the other side of the street?
you can do that if you want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah,
thinking.
I don't really care what you do.
Or
That's fine,
right
if you wanna
along
help,
here.
that'd be great, if you wanna be here and tell them to set up over there, that'd be perfect.
But if you
Problem
go to
is,
the bounce
it
house, they
takes-
can do it right along here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Bounce
takes a
house.
lot, it takes more than, there just
Oh, I
hasn't been
know.
the people, so if you wanna come and help and set them up there, that'd be great. And then we just need to keep Harold from taking down the street signs, but that's that's an issue, is the traffic safety, so.
Oh, you want me to be on the traffic?
Sure, that'd be great, Larry, thanks, I
Yep.
appreciate that. So we'll get a couple more volunteers and just kinda let them know what's going on, so.
Okay,
Thank you, Larry.
thank you.
We've gotta do that DOT application too.
Yeah, I have that in a packet somewhere that I just basically copied. John Belson
Yeah, that should be the
said
same.
he'd sign off on it, we apparently have done it wrong for the last 5 years, so he was gonna tell us how to do it right. Yeah, I get,
Oh, really?
I don't know, I'm not sure if it was the moment or if it actually happened, but
Yeah, okay.
is it a Lions Club meeting?
Yeah, he might not have been as lucid as,
Right.
yeah, as you would hope. Water grants, nothing new on that, has anyone heard it? Yeah,
No, I
for the village has gotta take lead and,
Yeah, I actually had coffee with John this last week, and, you know, he tells me that all of a sudden the tower's not in the shape that, you know, we thought it was. And I said, you know, it needs repaired, but I says, I don't think we've got anything big enough to apply for a grant. I think the village and the town have to go together. We could finish up all the water lines in town that haven't been done. You know, put that in the grant, get the water tower out of the way, so we aren't dishing out, you know, $17,000 a year for funding for it.
mhm.
And, you know, he just, he doesn't feel it's needed. No. I mean, there's actually.
Thanks for meeting with him.
Yeah,
That's
I
nice
mean,
to know progress.
it's not urgent.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the water treatment plant needs an upgrade on it. You know,
Well, I've heard rumblings, but there's no proposal for.
No, that's what I'm saying. I said, you know, I've been looking, I said, but everything I look at, it's gotta be on paper and ready. You know, the water tower, we need figures for it, you know, what needs to be done on it, you know. You know, the water lines are easy enough to figure out, you know, per foot what we need. You know, we don't know what's going on down at the water treatment plant,
Yeah.
you know. I even brought the sewer system up. I mean, you know, make it big enough so that, you know, they stand up and look at it when you propose something. You know, it's not gonna take a big chunk out of our pockets,
Right.
you know, and that's the whole
There's
point.
definitely funding for these types of things.
Right.
You can get almost 90% of some of these water projects from the state or whatever grant
Yeah.
system, yeah. As opposed to all of a sudden showing up and saying we need $1 million to paint the water tower,
Yeah,
which is what they said initially.
yeah, it's not, you know, it's not back when Russ Martino did it.
Yeah.
You know, Russ went out and got $400,000 or $500,000 grants and stuff to, you know, and did a couple streets at a time, you know. They don't wanna do that anymore.
Yeah. We don't have much
And
left.
we don't
on the
have
town.
much left.
Yeah, not on the town side, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for meeting with him.
Yeah.
See if we can get
I
him.
tried,
Yeah,
you know, I mean, we did, like, we spent probably 2 hours together.
all right. Town Park, I just made a note that there's gonna be some next steps to consider. Just as an example, we need to power wash the pavilion, we need to regrade the path, the gravel, if that's the right way to put it. Little things like that, and then also possibly some upgrades that we could look at, again, making new grants and other things that we might wanna do. I wanted to talk to Roger a little bit more about this, but I just wanna put it on your radar that there are some things that, some more expenses that will come up. We did really well on rentals last year, I don't know how it's trending this year. Yeah, so that's helpful and helps offset most of the cost, not all of it, but most of it. So I think we ought to keep looking at it and looking at some possible upgrades. Whenever I go to a park, I don't know if you do this too, other than ours,
Yeah.
I look at what kind of fixed infrastructure they have, and there's a lot of good ideas out there. And, you know, obviously it has to be affordable, but be nice to keep working on it and making improvements and upkeeping what we have invested in it already. Just as another example, we have probably about 18 or 20 of the large stones that are used to block traffic from going off the parking areas, set off to the side behind where the horse parking is on Morrison. And those could be used, obviously, somewhere in the park. They could also be used over here, they're ours. And put, you know, take these guardrails down, maybe put at the end of this some rocks that people can sit on to fish. Also provide, you know, a block for people driving their car into the pond. So a lot of things like that. Maybe we form a committee to talk about it. No rush, but I think there would definitely be some things to do. You look like you don't
I'm
want to
curious
fish.
if Johnny Pellet was still alive.
No, he does it, he did the
He
lake.
did the lake,
He
yeah.
did the lake.
Oh, okay.
Twice.
Right after.
Twice, yeah.
Oh,
I like Johnny.
I don't.
He's crazy. You don't like him? Don't ever get in the car with him, Mary.
okay. So that was my list of things. I don't have anything else. Does anybody else have a topic they want to cover? Or?
I got one. The village got a new van.
The village got a new van.
Yes.
For what?
All the stuff in.
The red truck.
Oh, like that utility.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that
Oh.
utility van that they have.
That's nice.
Did you get a key for it?
Yes, they did.
Did you get one?
No.
Try to get one. We might need to borrow it.
Yeah, they got in doing that thing. They got doing that departments with
Locked
it.
up.
All right.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Well, I've got a couple of notes here. We'll work on over the next few days for get together again on Thursday, 7 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Jim and I were looking at minutes, but I did put
Oh.
the resolution in there to support the grant.
Oh, yeah. So
That's
we'll
in
see
there.
Thank you.
Can I
Take
get a
that to-
copy of
Yes,
yours?
we'll take it out one more.
From
I'll do it.
Good saying.
Thank you.
Good saying.
So you-
About, development and stuff. I don't know if anybody wants to look them over, I thumbed through them. I got those at the meeting on, the John, Fitzak. He went to a conference and brought that back.
I'll look at it and then I'll share it with somebody else on Thursday. And I'll try to get through this stuff.
Okay, that'd be great. I'm gonna just, whatever we said last year, I'm gonna just do a copy